Every case is unique, but many share this pattern, right? For example, the Zodiac is someone whose identity we still don't know. He used to send coded letters to the police, and he had his own signature, which was a circle with a cross in the middle. So it seems like they enjoy it, you know? They take pleasure in leaving this mystery and having a signature. It's almost cinematic if you think about it, right?
All right, let's go. Come on, my little criminal. Are we starting like this? We're starting like this? Did it start? It's already rolling. Did we start with no structure? No structure at all? Really? Man. And the people who want to sponsor will say, this guy doesn't have a say? No, that's bad for me. But the people who want to sponsor? First, I already want to start by thanking Insider, who sponsors this channel, even though I don't get a say. Where the director treats me like a puppet, I want to make that clear. I was very hurt. Insider clothes of the future. Quality clothes. Clothes that the guest will love to talk about. Because it's clothing that doesn't hold odor. In other words, right, it gets rid of it's a problem for the police, this clothing. It's clothing that's a problem for the police. Because if you want to identify a criminal, clothing that holds odor, you know how things are. Now this clothing doesn't hold odor. The clothing smooths out on the body. The fugitive runs away more easily. No heat. Clothing of the future. The best clothing. Why is Insider on the podcast? Why? Because since this podcast covers all topics in some way end up connecting to Insider in the end. So let's talk. Show your face. Look at that. Take it. Give the gift by Maris. Is that it? Give the gift? A gift from Insider for you.
That's not true. I love it, okay? Really? I worked with them before.
Really? That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, I love myself. I'm telling you, it's a staple piece that's always good to have. Should I open it now? Sure. Go ahead. See if you like it, okay? Feel free. You don't have to put it on either.
Yeah, I don't think it'll work.
It's not going to work. It's not going to be so, but guys, so pleasant. There you go. It's Insider's women's line, and now it's available for everyone too. Because people say, wow, Mauricio, you only talk about the underwear that hugs your balls. But we have Insider's women's clothing, and it's excellent for hot days. Let me make it clear, it doesn't cause that discomfort. That's it. It's all for you, Jew. Oh, I loved it. You probably clicked this video because you keep seeing it. You thought, that's odd. Jew appears a lot on my TikTok feed, right? And I get worried because TikTok is based on an algorithm.
You're consuming a lot of content, right?
So if you showed up for me.
It's kind of dangerous.
And it's not bad. Like sometimes it's when someone says like, Jew, you explaining who Jew is. You saw it in the thumbnail, but Jew, she's a crime specialist. Let's put it that way. Who would have thought? Yeah.
I think you can say that. Specialist?
Let's call her a podcaster, a content creator, someone you might imagine as a person with a bloody axe and a muzz, right? Huh? An enthusiast.
Yeah.
A misery enthusiast.
Oh, I suppose you could say that, though it's a bit harsh, right? Enthusiast and yeah, kind of yeah.
Enthusiast, you seem to be rooting for it.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like I'm happy.
Can I make it better? We're here with her, a sommelier of misery, Jew Kassim.
I'm worse.
Yeah, I'm a sommelier of misery because you have to curate. You say, this misery isn't worth the content, didn't lose a head.
Is there something about death? Then we can talk.
Yeah, but I've seen so many heads lost already, Mauricio. I don't know if it's worth it now. 2 arms and a leg, that'll get likes. Is there something like that?
Not really. I thought it was a bit much.
All right, how many do you have?
Jew, I have 32.
Why? What's the first question?
Why did I start talking about this? So I think that a lot of it comes from curiosity because we naturally get curious when we see a case unfolding, right?
Unlike who?
I don't know. At least for the people who watch, I think there are actually 2 different things going on. Part of it is because we're curious. I think it's more related to the human mind.
All right, I agree. That's why it happened. I didn't want to back out. That's why I think you stood out to me, because you don't just talk about the crime and how it was carried out. You talk a lot about the criminal's mindset, why he did it, how he thinks.
I just don't like talking about it. I didn't mean to say I enjoy discussing crime. I think it's more about a curiosity to understand why someone acted in such a different way than I would, you know? Okay, like what we consider normal are people who don't commit crimes. So what went through that person's mind for them to, do something so horrible? I think this psychological part really draws a lot of attention and sparks a curiosity to understand. And also, we were even talking about this, it's because I'm a woman. There are a lot of things I learn from watching these cases to protect myself in daily life. I think it's really about safety issues.
Wait. So are you a paranoid person?
A little bit. I think I became more paranoid after I started consuming this kind of content. But also, I think there are things that women go through every day. And when you see these cases happening, you learn to adapt to avoid something from happening. For example, nowadays, when I get into my car, I lock the door immediately. I don't just hang around where I'm parked. Sometimes it's even about how you walk down the street.
But that's not bad. Now, just speculating here, this stuff starts getting into your head, right? Since you like this topic. Because you see, the worst day of my life was when I started to understand the financial market. I'll explain why. Because until then, when I was just an uninformed guy, it was fine. I just put my money there, it earned some interest, and that's it. When I started to understand, I said, I'm losing 13.2 cents. You start to become paranoid and obsessed with it. You who are making money with this, haven't you become a sadder person?
I don't know. I think it depends because there are people who watch me who sometimes say that they were consuming a lot of this kind of content. They were getting really paranoid and thought it was better to stop watching. But I also think that since I talk about it a lot, unfortunately, I end up getting a little desensitized. So I think sometimes I feel like, for example, on Journal National, where you have to deliver the news, you're there talking about the news, but I try not to carry it with me.
Datena eats Haagen-Dazs and talks about death. That's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I try not to take it with me because if you absorb everything, it really is too heavy. But I have this thing, for example, I can't write a video script and record it on the same day. I think it's too much. It's a lot. Yeah.
Because you absorb the story.
Exactly. Especially some specific stories. I prefer to tell stories that have a mystery behind them, something that actually happened, not just crime for the sake of crime. Because sometimes I see some cases that are just violence, Obviously, they're all violent, but sometimes it's just cruelty, pure evil. Some cases aren't like that, making you consider the psychological side. Like, I even remember there was a time, and I think in some cases it even helps. There was a time when I posted a video on the channel about a case, and the victim's family commented thanking me, for sharing their story.
Serving a social purpose, keeping the memory alive and all that.
Because in every case, you can take something from it, right? So I prefer to talk about these cases because later you can reflect on them.
I thought it was really interesting that you started by saying, I want to understand the human mind. And usually when we try to go down that path, we get really surprised by the human mind to the point where we also look and ask ourselves, would I be capable of doing that? So I ask you, was there any trigger that led you to this? Because I get it. I get why these things go viral. Because they're out of the ordinary, right? And you want to understand and all that. But is there something inside you like, I don't know, maybe you got slapped by a boyfriend back in 1998 and that messed with your head? Or did you have a relative who died? What do you think it was?
I encountered this in college because I have a law degree, right? And then in college, everyone in the first year of college, at least in my class, everyone was really interested in criminal law, right? We really wanted to know how criminology worked, those kinds of subjects. And at my college, in the last year, you choose an area of emphasis. There are 3 different areas, and I chose criminal law. So my 5th year of college was 100% focused on criminal law subjects. So I had forensic medicine, I had criminology, and I thought this part about forensics was really cool too. And then I started creating content. I graduated in 2019. I started creating content in 2020, and it was during the pandemic COVID when I was at home a lot and I watched more videos about the cases. So I think I already had something I liked, something I was interested in. Then I started watching videos and then I said, I'm going to make videos on TikTok about cases too. In fact, I really started out with true crime, right? Later on, I started talking more about supernatural content, movies and stuff. But I really started with that.
Do you believe in the supernatural?
I do.
And how does your mind work? Like, for example, okay, there's the fact that you have a law degree, you're a redhead, you're beautiful and you're young. What's the difference between you and Suzanne Ristovo?
For God's sake, go ahead, say it. It's the worst. You have no idea. You don't know. She totally lost it. A lot of people have already told me that. I've been told so many times that I look like her.
No, you don't look like her, but it's just that no.
But physically, yes, they've told me that before.
You have a law degree. Look, I'm here. You have a law degree. You like crime and all that. So,
it was checking all the boxes, right? Everything.
how are your parents doing?
They're great.
They get worried about, not about this issue, but they get worried about the fact that you go into that world. Like they say, my daughter, come on, talk about makeup. There are so many cooler things for you to talk about law.
I think at first it scared them a little, especially my mom, because my mom, she's really like spiritual and she really believes in these things about energy. She got worried that me talking about these topics might cause something bad.
People probably ask you that first.
A lot of people ask if I have nightmares, how do I deal with it? Do I? No. But
I don't. Son, you don't have them, right? I'm a bit tense. No.
But I also think I really believe in the spiritual side of things, especially because I believe in supernatural things. And I really believe that if I don't let it affect me, it won't affect me.
Yeah, it's mental too.
Yeah, it's very mental, being beautiful. So because if I read about the case, talk about it, keep thinking, wow, imagine how that was, and stay in that situation, I'm giving it a reason to get to me.
If not, every psychiatrist would be crazy.
It's the same thing. Imagine every psychologist talking to a patient, absorbing the person's problem and keeping it. It makes sense.
You need to know your job and how to keep things separate. But can you apply that to your personal life? For instance, you're 32, right? Are you dating or married? How's life? No, I'm dating. How does that affect your relationship? I mean, imagine it's the guy's first time meeting you. Yes. Then you say, no, yesterday I was editing a video about the guy whose mother died.
Yeah, I think so. It never really affected me, like the person being a little hesitant, at least not that I know of, right? Maybe it has. And I think that nowadays there are also a lot of people who talk about this topic and there's a lot of stuff online about it.
It became, yeah.
Normalized. And to be honest, I talk about these topics, but for example, if you go to my house, everything is pink, you know? Imagine, like I have two personalities.
I imagined that. You can't have everything be morbid, like a shovel falling. You just can't.
And I know there are people who do, right? Who like have that more gothic vibe, but I don't. Like people even say that when they come to my house, it doesn't even seem like I talk about these topics.
But do you get a little thrill from this kind of thing? Like, damn, what the guy did was crazy?
No.
At least you don't?
No, never ever.
No. For the love of God. Not about what he did in carrying it out, but about what he did. Like, man, this guy's brain is insane. Like, how did he even think of that? Maybe not, and turn on isn't the right term, but you get what I mean? It's almost like an admiration, like, damn, it's... The amount of craziness that exists in society makes you want to learn more, you know?
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that fascination exists for me. I think it's more of a psychological thing, really. Like trying to understand how the brain works. Why did the person get to that point, and what were they planning in their mind to achieve it? For example, we have guys who used to send letters, make codes, right? To figure it out is like a pastime. You make up a little story behind it.
He would create a story for it, yeah?
Totally. Like there are some famous serial killers who would also create a whole story, send coded letters to the police as if it were a big game. Hold on.
Tell me about it. I saw something and need to discuss a great series called Save the Cats.
I know. No, that documentary.
Are you talking about it? Save the Cats? No.
It's Don't Fuck with Cats, right?
Save the Cats is something else. Save the Cats is the script. It's Don't Fuck with Cats.
That's right.
Yeah, it's... Help me say it. He was a serial killer, right? I think he was Russian, something like that, from over there. He started with a video on the internet killing a cat. And then he posted it, and obviously the animal rights community paid attention and said, man, what the hell is this? He caused, a commotion. These people started, through the commotion, the community started to investigate where he had killed that cat. For example, through the wall socket, they discovered it was a socket from Eastern Europe, something like that. And then people kept digging, kept investigating. The guy started to enjoy this game. Yes, he began killing another cat elsewhere. Until he started killing humans. It's Don't Fuck with Cats. Yeah, it's on Netflix. He started killing humans almost as if he wanted to get caught through this whole puzzle. Kind of like a psychological Escape 60, right? And I'm not going to give any spoilers, obviously, but it was like a hunt within the community. That was a good reference, Escape 60. But it's kind of like that because the guy keeps creating riddles and killing people, and the police weren't interested, and then the ones who saved the whole story were the people. It was the cat lady. Yeah, the lady who owns the cat. The lady who owns the cat in Michigan who had nothing to do and kept...
But those are the cases I find interesting because then you can actually get something out of it. Like, look at how the power of the internet managed to solve a crime and stop a guy who had started killing people, you know? It was 100% an internet hunt, I see. There were Facebook groups.
Would you be part of that community?
Well, I don't know. Okay.
But do you like figuring this stuff out?
Yes, I think that part is really interesting, yes. But for example, people really got involved in a cause. It was like what happened recently here in Brazil, right? With Orelha's dog, remember? Also, like people were spreading the word and trying to get someone punished because people came together for a cause. And then, yes, it seems like the police start to pay attention. Because, for example, with Don't Fuck with Cats, when you post an animal abuse video online, it's tough since the police often refuse to act. So now I'm going to investigate and we're pursuing this guy, right? People said, no, we're going after him and we'll find out who he is. Then the police had to get involved. Although they only got involved in the investigation when there was a person involved, right? When it was just animals, they were kind of... But there's a pattern.
Hey, Jew, like this guy clearly, even his story, there's something about him always wanting attention. He wanted to be the main character in something. I don't remember if he wanted to be an actor or something like that, but he couldn't make it.
He wanted to be famous, right?
He wanted to be famous. He got frustrated and all that. Is there a pattern or is this guy an isolated case? What do you observe about serial killers? I want to discuss the mind now, since you like this topic.
Yeah, I think there are some serial killers who even talk about their pattern of wanting to be discovered deep down. For example, there's BTK. He was also a serial killer who killed more women, and he had his own way of tying them up and everything, the way he killed. And he was a family man, you know. He went to church. No one ever suspected him, not even his wife or his daughter. His daughter even wrote a book about what it was like to live with him all that time. BTK?
Brazilian?
No, he's American. His name is Dennis Rader, but he became known as BTK.
BTK is really funky. Super, yes, sorry. Less than BTK. Friend of Mao, BTK, TK. He makes videos with Cariani.
Yeah, BTK was the acronym for what he did to women, you know? Then they abbreviated it and he became famous with that name. Okay. And then he went unpunished for a long time. Like he went 10 years without killing anyone after he had already killed a lot of people. And then one day, like, I think it seemed like he got tired and wanted to leave another piece of evidence for the police, you know? It seemed like he wanted to, like, from the moment people stopped talking about him, he was like, no, you know, I want to come back. I think that feeling that he was getting away with it, that he managed to fool the police, for him was something really gratifying. So, when everyone forgot about the story, it seems like he wanted to do something, and that's when he got caught. If he had stayed quiet, and there are...
A really good comment on Netflix from his daughter, talking about what it was like when she found out her father was BTK.
But you're telling me something that's almost human, even if it's not, right? It's like the guy who's a businessman, he goes crazy when he retires. Right? Because he loses that drive, that adrenaline of achieving, of growing. That also exists in the psychopath's world.
Many. And you can see that there are some who, for example, when they were arrested, they started giving a lot of interviews, right? Talking about the crimes, about what they did. And they feel a great pleasure in explaining step by step how they thought about it.
So it's not a mistake to give, not you, but for people to give a voice to this kind of criminal. Because what you do is analysis work. I can see what you do there. Now, for example, Jew, I have to discuss this topic. Susan Richthoff is getting, I think, almost 1 million reais from Netflix to, talk about the case she was involved in exclusively and all that. Doesn't that end up being a reward? I'm not just talking about the financial part, but psychologically, she's in the spotlight. It's you. She wants to be in the spotlight, from what you can tell. She likes being in that position.
I think that if she's making a documentary about what she did, she definitely wants to take advantage of it, right? I think it's wrong, of course, I don't agree with it. I think there's a difference sometimes when you make documentaries about criminals from other countries, because many of them are serving life sentences, you know? There's no possibility of getting out. Yes. And here in Brazil, we have some who have already been released, right? Who are already free. They're in society, right? So, yeah, it's really complicated to think about. I think it's a big discussion. For example, those serial killers who gave interviews in the United States, many of them helped the FBI itself try to find other serial killers. So there's even a series on Netflix, Mindhunter, I don't know if you've watched it, that's based on this real story that actually happened. They realized serial killers existed, but there wasn't even a name for it then. And then they went to talk to guys in prison who were serial killers to try to understand and catch the ones who were still active. So they gave these interviews to provide information to the police so they could build profiles and go after these guys. And it helped a lot, okay? So in this case, there was a purpose, like they're talking about the crimes.
In this case, it's just about profit. Yeah, it's like my story is so interesting, fabulous, fascinating. I mean, that I'm going to get paid for it. Like capitalism will, pay. My story is worth 500,000 rays. Yeah, me killing my.
And these documentaries usually, even if the person isn't involved, right? In Suzanne's case, she's speaking in it, right? But even if the person isn't involved, if there are, for example, old images here in Brazil, you have to pay image rights, right? So even those documentaries you make, and in theory, the person isn't getting paid.
Someone is getting paid.
But do they get paid? Well, I don't know exactly. I know that to be able to use old photos of the person and stuff in the documentary, you have to pay the.
You're creating a new market. If something goes wrong, someone might take a picture and say, I'll sell this later for money. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the guy kills just to take the picture. Look, okay, Suzanne, she's not a serial killer. No, she's someone who committed a one-time murder. I don't know if she. I brought here Ulysses Campbell, who is probably someone you probably already follow. And he says, right, that she has a profile, of psychopathy and all that. What is a serial killer?
Yeah, I think they start to characterize someone as a serial killer from the moment they kill more than 3 people, right? So then that's when it's considered serial. But also, usually a serial killer is when they have the same modus operandi. So all the crimes were committed in the same way. And what?
Why does he follow the same pattern? Because he wants to be discovered?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are also kind of systematic, like they have to do everything just right. Not necessarily, but the vast majority have a preference for a certain way to kill, and then they always follow the same steps.
Like what?
For example, this BTK I mentioned, yeah, that acronym stands for bind, torture, and kill, which would be like tying up, torturing, and killing. So he would go to the houses, he would tie up the victims, then he would torture them, and then usually suffocate them. So it's always that same pattern, unless something in the moment gets out of control and then it ends up being different. But then, right, and like many.
What's the purpose of this standardization for them? Is it like a psychopath's concept album? Like, I need to show my mark. Is it a signature? How does he say it? What does he say?
Yeah, I think each case is different, but there are many who have this signature, right? For example, you see the Zodiac, who is a guy we still aren't sure who he is to this day. He used to send coded letters to the police, and he had his signature, which was a circle with a cross in the middle. So it seems like they enjoy it, They take pleasure in leaving this mystery and having a signature. It's almost kind of cinematic if you think about it, right?
Is that his way of expressing his art through death, like by having a mystery, something like that? Is that it?
Yeah, but not all of them, right? For example, there are serial killers here where you just have to detect a pattern, Because sometimes there are cases where we see that someone went out and killed a bunch of people and they already labeled them as a serial killer. But if you look, each of the crimes was different from the other.
A serial killer is defined by a pattern.
Modus operandi, exactly. Modus operandi involving more than 3 people.
Okay, there's something like the United States is the country with the most serial killers. Actually, it's in Indochina in 1936. Is there something like, does Brazil have a lot of serial killers?
So if I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, the United States is one of the countries that has the most. I'm not sure if it's really the one with the most, or if it's just more publicized and we know more about them.
Like in China, there are serial killers and nobody knows.
Exactly, so we don't have that much contact, But from what I saw with serial killers, in the United States, the number is really high. Nowadays, it's harder, right? Because today we have more chances of catching someone with DNA, forensics in general, cameras.
Brazil also has several serial killers.
Yes, it does. It does, but I think compared to the United States, there are fewer.
What's the serial killer story that stands out the most to you? The one you looked at and thought, man, this is really interesting. Well, interesting, right? Yeah, interesting. This is really bad, isn't it? But it's something I'm going to really dive into because, man, I was really impacted by it.
Yeah, I think the one I mentioned about the Zodiac is one of the cases that I get most obsessed with, wondering what really happened. Because to me, it's really bizarre that they couldn't find the guy. He was active for so many years.
How long has he been around?
It's just that he probably already died, right? When was that? The 70s.
The 70s, I don't know that story.
Yeah, I think it was because he started killing people and he would shoot them, right? He targeted couples when they were inside the car, and it seemed random.
Yeah.
We believe it wasn't very random, but he wore a mask so people couldn't identify him. And then, after he committed the crimes, he had this thing where he would send letters to the press and to the police talking about what he had done. He would mention the victims' names and the letters were in code, right? This became kind of a phenomenon at the time because when the police couldn't decipher the letters, they would put them in the newspaper to see if anyone could read them and send the code to them. So much so that regular people at home would get the newspaper in the morning and would be there trying to solve it.
He created the crossword puzzle. That's right, the zodiac, that's right. He actually created the zodiac. And now Sagittarius to find out who it is. And then
In the last letter he left, he said that his name was there in the code. And it seems that there are 2 lines of this code that no one has been able to decipher to this day. Some people today claim they've deciphered it and identified the name, but the police never officially confirmed it.
they couldn't find him because he's great with puzzles. He said, I don't want to do it. Claudio, you do it.
On TikTok, I don't know if you saw this, but there was a guy on TikTok who says the zodiac is his grandfather. And the worst part is that every person who says, like, my relative, the evidence they give makes you think, wow, it really could be.
But a series came out recently, right? About people who knew him, right?
Yeah. Which one was that again?
It's from Netflix.
Knights of the Zodiac, that's it.
There's a really good movie. It even won awards called Zodiac with Robert Downey Jr., Junior J.
Killian Hall, he's American, the Zodiac.
Yeah.
Where was he from? It's now. All right. But like he was an American guy from the 70s. It's just that we don't know the...
What he was, right? He could be Brazilian.
Could it be? It could be.
He could be German.
California. Some people say he was an immigrant.
California coast.
How many people did he kill?
Was it 7? Did I guess right? I don't know if it was 7. I'll put a list here.
Of those you mentioned, the countries with the most serial killers,
United States. But like she said, maybe it's just because there's more investigation, right?
Then comes Russia. Hold on.
Hold on. Let's go back. How many were there in the United States?
I'll pull up the number here.
It's not much.
It's just that it's way ahead here. There's no data like in millions.
Before we start, let's review the top 5 since I want to focus on them.
Russia, United Kingdom, Germany, and China. Brazil isn't even in the top 10.
Germany, man.
Germany. Wow.
But Germany does have some dark cases, some things. Why?
Why do you think there's any connection? You in your studies are some cultures more likely to, I don't know.
I think that in countries like that, for example, the cases I cover, which are from Russia, from Germany, I don't know if it has something to do with being a cold country, people being more isolated, you know?
That's why Brazil is doing just fine.
Yeah, so in Germany, there are a lot of cases of people who keep others locked in the basement for years, you know? A father kept his daughter locked in the basement for 24 years.
There was Inglourious Bastards. The movie was about that, actually.
Let me check. I have it here. Wait.
Wait, pause. Just so you know, this is really intense. This guy is considered a serial killer because this story is really heavy. He's the guy who locked up his own daughter, right? Yeah. In the basement, and he raped his daughter. It was a really crazy thing.
With her, and then he had children with her. The kids lived there in the basement. He lived with his wife upstairs. And no one found out. I think it was 24 years, if I'm not mistaken. Wow.
Just to give you an idea of the numbers, okay? Yeah, those are recorded cases. In the United States, there are more than 3,000 recorded cases.
Overall?
Overall. Okay. Second place, 300. Wow. That is...
The police are bad.
So, the United Kingdom, 160 recorded cases. Germany, 100 cases. China, 100 cases. South Africa, 90 cases. That is the United States way up there. Look.
Yeah, okay. You mentioned the cold in Germany and all. United States.
United States. Yeah, exactly. No, there's something I don't know.
There's something?
With,
Media? Is there something to do with it? Is there any connection? I'm trying to chat with you from that angle, you know, with a lot of scripts that make people write a lot, think a lot, elaborate, fame.
Is there something? That's an interesting question. Why are so many people trying to be serial killers in the US? I don't know the answer. Maybe it's fast food. Huh?
Food?
It must be the food. It's really bad.
Yeah, and there's also the issue of guns, right?
Like, oh, it makes sense, obviously. It's more permissive gun laws.
There are people who will say it's the greatest power in the world.
But is there a society with more drug use? A society that's more, let's say, pressured? And maybe that leads to more frustration?
Maybe it's just the mindset. I'm not sure. Well, I have absolutely no idea.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So, in the Brazilian case, which one do you think is considered the main one? Who is the Brazilian Zodiac?
Serial killers? Yeah, the cases we know of serial killers here, I don't think there's any that remained an unsolved mystery, right? Yeah, but for example, we have the park maniac, right? That was here in Sao Paulo, actually. Yes, I followed that case closely. He killed a lot of people there in Ibirapuera Park, right? Is he alive? He's alive, and there was something about him. It seemed like he could get out of prison, I think, in 2027.
So he's in prison.
He's still in prison. In prison. But I was even reading some things saying that sometimes on medical recommendation and such, he might stay in prison longer. But he was expected to get out of jail. We also had that guy, Pedrinho Matador. Do you remember that he even started a YouTube channel afterwards?
He did a podcast. Became a YouTuber?
Yeah, he became a YouTuber.
Mess. I thought Vilela didn't bring him here. If he died, he was there every Tuesday. An expert. No, he didn't bring him. He didn't bring him. Enough with the crime. Respect Vilela too, damn it. Stop. Okay, I don't remember how that Pedrinho Matador case went.
Pedrinho Matador, he used to say he was an avenger, right? That he killed people who had already committed crimes or who had something against him inside the prison. That's why he was arrested.
Avenger.
He was arrested and his sentence kept increasing in prison because he killed people there. So he defends himself like that? Like, I didn't kill anyone without a reason?
He probably didn't want to go back because rushing would make things messy. I've considered that too.
He didn't go on Vilela's show, but he did go on a podcast, okay? He did.
I remember he went on a podcast.
Wow, but if I'm not mistaken, someone once sent me a DM asking if I was interested in interviewing him before he died. Man.
This is important.
Because I think he wanted to go talk to people, to have some visibility. I don't know if it's to defend himself or what it is.
That's what I wanted to know. Does the mind of a guy who kills have guilt, regret? Or is it more like, no, I'm going to explain what I did so you all can look at me and say, congratulations, Pedrinho?
So I think in some cases, yes, because we have some cases of people who go to prison and then they find religion while in prison. They become pastors, That happens a lot.
I mean, thinking about it, imagine, man, the guy who's your pastor, the guy who, okay, there's repentance and all that. But me, Mauricio, I'm speaking for myself. I wouldn't really trust, man, a guy who killed 400 people. Now the guy is there saying, guys, I'm going to tell you what's best for your life.
You can't, right?
You can't. I think there's a lot of psychological analysis in this case too, right? Because there are some people who say, no, they're psychopaths, they're sociopaths. So they manipulate people to make it look like they're sorry, but that's not really it. It's just to get away with it. Now, other people I think might truly convert. I think it really depends on the case.
What case you shared on social media got the most attention and made you realize people really like that story?
Well, I know that the video that went most viral on the Crime Case channel wasn't even about a serial killer, but I think it caught people's attention because it was about a boy. I think he was 13 years old.
Whenever it involves a child?
I think mothers watch it, right? Yeah, when it's about a child. And it was a really heavy case because I don't remember the girl's name exactly, but she was a little girl from his neighborhood that he ended up killing, and then a child killed.
Yeah.
The boy was about 13 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He killed the little girl and she disappeared, right? It took a while to discover what happened. She was missing for some time and the neighborhood handed out flyers asking neighbors about it. This boy took part in the searches, he tried to help, and then his family started to notice a very strong smell in his room and didn't know what it was. And he had some little birds there, so they thought it was that and all, but the smell just kept getting stronger, and then they found out that he had put her body inside the mattress. His mattress was like a waterbed, And then her body was inside and he was sleeping on the mattress all those days while he was helping with the searches, helping to look for her. She was there the whole time and it happened in the United States too.
Yeah, well, that ruined my lunch. I'm speechless, damn.
No, it was terrible. Well, it was really disturbing.
This is the end of guessing. No, but yeah, okay. How, why? What was the motivation? Obviously, there is no motivation, but what do they claim?
So I saw this case a while ago. I don't remember exactly. I know that the little girl went to his house, to the backyard to play. I think they were used to playing together. I'm not sure if I'm remembering this case correctly, but I think it might have been an accident. She fainted, then he finished killing her and realized he had to hide the body. Or if he really meant to do it, I don't remember. Exactly. I just remembered this case now because it went viral. I think it got a lot of attention thinking about it. Because then she became known as the waterbed girl? No.
Damn, right? There's even that series, right? Adolescence, yeah.
Adolescence.
Adolescence, right? Which even covers that. It's on Netflix too, if I'm not mistaken. I recommend it. I think everyone has seen this series, which shows the mind of a psychopath, and it has one of the best actors I've ever seen in my life. He's really good. He's a kid, maybe 15 years old. It's an English series, right, where they show what goes on in the mind of a boy psychopath who decides to kill. You mentioned Thelma? Yes, you worked with Thelma at EXC. Thelma came here, and Thelma did an episode that scared a lot of people. The episode If Yes. Yes. On that topic, watch the conversation I had with Thelma about crimes that are happening in real life on Discord and so on.
I was just about to talk about that.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Are you seeing more crimes, fewer crimes, a more murderous society or a less murderous one? What's your view as a specialist on this subject?
This whole Discord thing worries me a lot, you know? I heard about this topic recently. In fact, I found out about it while we were recording the podcast. And then one of our guests, she helps the police with cases like this, so she sees a lot of things on Discord. And when she told us what was happening, I was really horrified to find out that these things happen here in the city where we are, and it's so easy to access, right? I think that's why it's important to bring attention to this, yes, even for parents.
To know what Discord is.
Because a lot of people watched that series Adolescence and were shocked, saying, no, that's not real, it's impossible.
Swear to God?
A lot of people.
My son isn't like that. My son is a good boy.
No, exactly.
And it's really cool that they take a really good kid, a nice kid, who ends up doing something terrible.
It's just that for the family, they're not doing anything. Many parents think my kid is playing in their room all day, they're not doing anything wrong. But you have to pay attention. Those Discord servers have like thousands of members who watch the most horrible live streams. And it's like teenagers who ask a lot of girls, you know, to do things, even mistreat animals, even like cut themselves, really bizarre things, psychological manipulation. And that's what shocks me, I think. Because how can there be such a large community of people who think this is acceptable and are doing this more and more with children? What can I do?
What's your explanation and analysis?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of manipulation going on there, if there's maybe someone behind it.
Like for you to be part of my group?
You have to do it. Yeah, I don't know, because, for example, we have the owners of those Discord servers who would be the people controlling everything. And then I don't know if there are friend groups there that end up making this acceptable, you know? If he's doing it, I'll do it too because I can. Does that bring out a more violent side in someone? I don't know.
Hey Gil, you mentioned the supernatural. Are there a lot of people who blame the situation on something supernatural? Like what I want to understand is obviously you're not a psychologist, right? You make your content, you do your thing, but you study a lot and you have your own observations. What do you see like as the motivators? I understood that, for example, that guy from BTK, he's a guy who in some way was seeking the spotlight, I don't know, wanted to get attention. He must have had a rough life and is obviously crazy. It's just that crazy isn't really a term anymore, right? The guy has some condition. There are people who take it to the supernatural who say, I got a message I received. And what do you think about that? You know, demonic possession. Yeah, like demonic possession.
Yeah, there are a lot of people. There are even some serial killers who say that. There's one called the Son of Sam. He became famous. He said that the neighbor's dog was possessed and told him to do things right. That's it. There are many cases like that. It's a fact.
The classic, my dog told me.
Exactly.
Me acting like a dog.
Yeah, it was the dog possessed by a demon and it would ask him to do things and he would do them. But I don't think so.
Wait, no, let's stick with that. Let's break this down.
But then, what about the dog? There's even a very famous documentary on Netflix that talks about the Sons of Sam, which are the guys who talk about satanic cults, demonic possession, who were the ones who,
But what counts as supernatural to you? What's supernatural and what's schizophrenia, for example?
So I think it's a very fine line because I think there are people who might have some mental health condition or schizophrenia, a neuro condition or something else. Exactly. Something that really makes them believe that there's someone there or they're seeing something that's asking them to.
The word that's in his head actually is spirit and not him.
Himself?
Thinking.
Exactly. It's not about him. If he doesn't kill that person, something terrible will happen to that person or their family. But then you need to focus on your mental health, right?
So there are many cases where someone kills thinking they're doing something good? Yeah.
Exactly. In his mind, he has a condition which makes it important. There are many of these cases where the guys come from abusive homes, they've shown signs of mental health problems since childhood, or maybe they suffered a head injury, something like that. But the family never treated it, never looked for help, and then this thing kept developing and developing until the person ended up killing someone. So I think there are many cases where if the person had been treated or medicated from the beginning, this could have been avoided. Damn, of course that's not the rule, right? Not every guy who says something like that actually has schizophrenia. But
Is it related to things like, have you ever seen a case where a guy killed someone because God told him to?
God, I think so.
Having this place like, we're good.
Goodness, I think there must be. I think there must be, to think it was God. But most of the ones I've seen, that's it. It's about having, because John Lennon,
He was killed by a guy who believed he was saving John Lennon's life. That he read, I think John Lennon asked, the book John Lennon liked the most was The Catcher in the Rye. The guy read the book and interpreted that John Lennon was asking to die, and he thought he was doing a good deed.
yes, that happens too. Some people needed treatment, right? They needed care, but then it turned out that
When you discuss these topics, does it scare you? I know you have the journalistic side, but does directly talking about this make you nervous? It's one thing in the United States, you're talking about a guy who won't be out tomorrow and he's been in prison his whole life. Now you're talking about a guy who, lives in Minas Gerais and today is a pastor. Yes.
no, I do think it's scary. That's why I discussed some Brazilian cases, but I prefer to focus on more famous ones that already have documentaries and are widely discussed. Because then I'm basing myself on that, and I think, it doesn't feel like it's just me talking. But there are some cases that I'm afraid of. For example, cases that are happening right now. I always wait to see how things unfold, what's going to happen, if there's going to be a sentence, if there's going to be a trial, because a lot of things can change too, right? I get worried about talking about a case. There was a recent case, I think it was here in São Paulo too, about Vittoria. I don't know if you remember, it was a case that got a lot of attention too. Because at first when they found her, they said she didn't have any hair, that she was holding a bag in her hand. And then it started a frenzy, like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? And then as the days went by, they said, no, it's not that someone shaved her head. The body was decomposing and the hair had already fallen out. So people started spreading news without knowing the facts. And then later everything changes and things end up changing, So I always prefer to have an investigation.
Because public opinion, it ends up really destroying the case, right? I've seen many stories where public opinion, the Evandro case itself, yes. Public opinion decided to get involved, and to this day, we don't know what happened. No.
Exactly. And sorry to interrupt you, but it's because sometimes the media ends up getting in the way. Remember the Aloha case? Yeah.
Exactly.
Things might have turned out differently without intervention, so I believe there's a lot of responsibility involved. Whenever I talk about these cases, I keep thinking about what it would be like if the victim's family were watching, To try to talk in the most respectful way possible, because I think it's not about the killer, about what he did. It's more about even honoring the victim and what happened to them. Someone who had a life and lost it, and trying to take something from that. That's why I really like to talk about cases, about people who went through something but managed to survive or managed to escape. So we have a lot of stories like that, Sometimes women who were kidnapped by a guy, they were there being tortured, sometimes abused. But they managed to think of a way to manipulate the person so they could escape. Damn.
Now that's what I want to hear about. That's what I want to know. I want to know about manipulation versus manipulation. Yeah.
For example, these guys we talk about who are psychopaths, or sometimes very narcissistic. Sometimes I've already talked about at least 2 or 3 cases where they kidnapped someone. That person was held captive for a while, having to endure various abuses, tortures, and so on. But they stayed strong and said, no, I'm going to get into this guy's head. And then they kind of went along with them, thanking them, pleasing them, trying to have more personal contact, learning about their lives, finding out their names. He would tell a little bit about why he was doing that. And then we see that these guys, they want attention, They want to open up, they want to talk. And then over time, they started to relax. I trust her, maybe I won't tie her up this time. And then in one of those moments, they managed to escape, They managed to run away.
What tips do you give? I know that what tips do you give in case if you're being kidnapped right now and let's go, let's clean that up, right? Top 5 tips to escape captivity.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
No, but what did you see? Because at the beginning of this conversation, you said to me, Mao, a lot of the things I observe are actually to protect myself, right? For what could happen and all that. So what would you do in a situation like that then?
I think there are some
lessons you
picked up. Yeah, I think there are some tips that are useful. For example, I once saw a video where a girl said is that, for example, if you're being approached on the street, like by someone, get in my van. It's better for you to make a scene and make noise right where you are and not get in the van. Like, never let someone take you to a second location. Because if, for example, the person is willing to shoot you because you didn't get in the van with them, imagine what they could do to you in a remote place with no one watching. So sometimes it's better for you to try to escape, run, scream right there on the street than to go somewhere with someone, you know?
It's those damn serial killer movies that are making guys not approach women at parties. If a guy asks, do you want a drink? You're like, oh no, we're screwed. It's because of serial killers. It's over because everything is escalating and people are afraid.
Yes, that's true. I think there are limits. You shouldn't fear everything, but there are things to be careful about.
But like, okay, you said you're single at 32, right? That's normal. Life goes on. All right. But at the same time, doesn't consuming this all day make you a little paranoid? A guy comes up to you and says, hey, come over to my place. And you say, no way. You go with a box cutter.
No, that's not it either.
It's not, no.
You show up armed, man? No, I think the basic thing for every woman, and I think everyone thinks this way, is that like if you don't know the guy in person, never met him, you're not going to go back to his place with him on a first date, right? Like, I'm the kind of person who prefers to meet in a public place. Yes, to get to know the person. But I'm definitely not paranoid to that level. Like, there are some little things I do in my daily life that I think are useful, but if we live like that all the time, we don't really live, right?
Okay. What kind of, like, let's say I'm at a bar and this guy here, I don't know if he's a serial killer or a criminal. What do you think are the patterns you've noticed? Something that makes you look and say, man, this behavior is kind of strange. What are they usually like?
I don't know. I think when it comes to approaching like that in everyday life, it's a bit harder, right? I think the basic thing is to always be careful with everyone.
But isn't there something about seduction? The guy is very seductive from what I know. Yes. Usually the serial killer is a guy who, well, to convince you to go to his house to, yeah.
Not all of them, right? There are some guys who, for example, one of the serial killers people talk about the most these days is Ted Bundy, who killed more than 30 women. And there are people who survived him, women who survived. They say he was charming, that they thought he was handsome, that he was smooth, like kind of a flirt, someone they trusted. To the point of getting in the car with him, and then after they found out who he was, they cast Zac Efron too, which makes it a little hard.
They got Zac Efron to play the character?
But you know, I don't criticize it that much because I think sometimes people have this idea in their heads that when they see a serial killer or a criminal, they'll know because that person will have a specific look.
It could be anyone.
So I think it's important for you to show a handsome guy because it could be a handsome guy.
But it's scary for you to tell me that because you tell me the story of the guy who was a pastor, not a pastor there. Beketa, BTK, the BTK guy, the BTK guy. Burger King, Burger King, Burger King, BK. BK, Oprah, McDonald's gave the guy's name, right? Burger King, let's go. You told me this guy's story and it's really strange, right? Because he's exactly the opposite of the seductive type. He's a married guy with kids and all, and suddenly out of nowhere, after 40 years, it wasn't something at 16 or 18 years old. Is there something that causes a break that makes a person start committing crimes?
So BTK, he liked to wear women's clothes, like sometimes he wore masks, like he wasn't the kind of guy who approached people like that, you know? He broke into houses, you know? No.
No.
Yeah, he didn't have that thing like Ted Bundy where he would actually talk to women, you know? Yes. So I think it really depends on each guy's profile. BTK, I see him more as a withdrawn guy, like more to himself. He had his job, his family, his church, and then he had a second life where he did this.
So, but what is that turning point? Because I get it when the killer is young, I don't know, the guy is 20 years old, so he already has those teenage thoughts, some trauma, whatever, and he decides to act when he's 18 or 20 years old. Now, a guy who starts killing, when he becomes a killer at 45 or 50 years old, what makes him do it? What motivates that? What do you notice? Is there any motivator?
Well, I think there are some traumas. For example, there are a lot of people who say that sometimes even an accident that the person went through changes something in their mind.
The motorcycle accident, for example.
Most of these cases happen when the person is a child, right? They say there's a specific region of the head that when you hit it, it affects you. It's really tough for me to say this because I'm not a doctor or a psychologist at all. But like in many cases, if you hit this region, it messes with your empathy, you know?
You lose your empathy.
You don't really see the other person as someone you're killing. It's just like anything else, you know? You don't have this thing that's why I think it's interesting, like you and I, normally would think about it this way, but these people
You get fascinated by the story because you think, damn, how did the guy not have the slightest bit of empathy in this situation here? Exactly.
like, how did he do it? He has
A different mental issue than yours. Yeah, and he goes down a path. And what is this guy's life like after the murder? For example, in prison, how does it work? Because we know that here in Brazil, a rapist doesn't have such an easy life in prison. A serial killer, is he someone who stays in a cell alone? Does he make a lot of friends? Does he kill more? Yeah.
I can't generalize if all of them are kept in isolated cells, but from the ones I've seen in prison, even those who give more interviews, they usually stay alone. And what's bizarre is that they get a lot of letters in prison from admirers, right?
Yeah, man. It later becomes a documentary.
Exactly. Exactly. Like love letters, people wanting to marry them, or even trying to say they weren't responsible for the crimes, you know? Like trying to take the blame off them.
You're fascinated by the human mind. Aren't you also fascinated by these stories? Absolutely, I am. Who are these people? Who are these women who send messages to their potential killer?
And what's even more bizarre to me is that it's not just one. They receive thousands of letters from admirers. Many people seem to like this morbid side, right? I remember that once I went to a museum and I was horrified. I left in 5 minutes because I thought it was something else. I didn't research it. I should have researched it before going. But it's a museum in Los Angeles. It's called the Museum of Death. And that museum is horrible. It's a museum that basically shows very explicit photos of crimes. There's a wall, for example, that's just about car accidents.
So web in a place, right? Yeah, faces of death. That's it?
That's it. It's gore, basically. It's for people who like watching blood. Sometimes you'll see a head in the trash with no name, just accident between this street and that street.
No way. No, stop. No, you're saying something that doesn't make sense. There's a museum about that.
There's a museum about that.
Yeah, and next to it is a McDonald's.
It's normal, like on a really famous street.
BTK is right there next to it. At the shop, the man gestures and they buy souvenirs.
It's basically a tourist attraction. Yeah, like things to do in the city. Did you go to that museum? I did. But I swear, I went in, I just followed the path so I could leave, and then I left. I couldn't look at anything. In fact, the first photos are from a case that's also really famous in Hollywood, which is the Black Dahlia, it's an unsolved case to this day. And she was also found, her body was in a terrible state, like it was cut in half. I had never seen such explicit crime scene photos before. They have everything. And I was really horrified. Really, because as much as I talk about these cases, I'm not the kind of person who looks at photos. Like, I read about it, but I don't like to look. Also, I get sick at the sight of blood, okay? I know it's super contradictory, but I don't like to see it. For example, forensics, they already offered me a course and everything. I'm not sure I can handle it.
Do you think you're focused on this kind of subject exactly because it's the opposite of who you are? Yeah. And in some way, you try to
understand it, right? Could be.
Shit.
And then it's very, very explicit. There's stuff about the O.J. Simpson case, you know, there's a lot. And then there's a room that's just about serial killers. So there are paintings that they made, there are files from the case. This part is more interesting to people because it has an investigative aspect.
Yes, it goes right alongside your law background.
Yeah.
But the head in the trash is just pure morbid fascination.
Yeah, there are things from World War II, and it's a big wall, like full of photos. I was watching some videos on the internet about it. Some YouTubers visited to discuss the museum. Someone mentioned hearing that museum owners sometimes get calls about accidents on certain streets, though I'm not sure how true that is. They rush over to take pictures for the museum.
It's Nightcrawler. That's what I was going to say. Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler is a movie. I was telling Ju before we started, we were chatting at the cafe about having a series actually, this is a big compilation of series for you to watch, which is forbidden on TV, right?
What's it called? Killer Ratings?
Killer Ratings. Have you seen it? That genius, right? Killer Ratings is a series that took place in Manaus. Actually, it's not a series that took place in Manaus. It was a case that happened in Manaus. It was like the local Datena. Let's put it that way, right? Host, news journalist, about crimes and all that. It was that kind of thing in the afternoon around 2 o'clock. You know, when you're having lunch, you're there between risotto and beans. Then you look at the TV and there's a decapitated guy. That's Brazil. That's what we like. Yeah, this guy, actually, I don't think it's Ellington, something like that, Washington, some name like that. He was the host,
Isn't it?
something W, there's a W there. The host was Wallace Sousa. Wallace Sousa.
Everyone made a mistake.
It was with a W. What did I say? I said Washington. Washington. Wallace Sousa, he was the local host, and his show had an audience kind of like Siqueira Jr. And it was later discovered through investigations that he was somehow connected to the crimes he condemned. So nobody understood how could a crime happen? It just happened, and the guy is already there, the reporter. We're here, look, 5:30 in the morning, it seems someone died here in a pool hall fight, and the one who in some way made this possible was the host himself, who later became a federal congressman. In fact, there's even a big issue where a lot of people said he was guilty, and there are also those saying he wasn't guilty. So this debate is still open, right? Yeah, so what is it? You use crime to promote yourself.
Making money off of it?
Making money off of it. And then I ask you, you deal with crime content. When there's a crime, you in some way, damn, you're there, right? Involved, you get your visibility and all that. How do you curate what you talk about and what you don't talk about?
So I think for me, it's really about the mystery I mentioned. I prefer to pick those cases that have some mystery behind them, something we can take from it. And there are some cases that, for example, Brazilian cases, there have been people who asked me not to talk about them. Why? I remember there was a time when I talked about a case that was a place. No, but it wasn't a crime. It was something supernatural that happened there. But this place used to be a convent for nuns, and then the nuns asked me to take the video down because they didn't want it to become, stigmatized. Yeah. And I don't mind, I don't mind not talking about it. I think there are also some cases that are heavier or that are very recent, and sometimes it's still too hard for the family.
The famous too soon.
Yeah, exactly. It just happened, or like say it, but in a way that's respectful, I think you need to have that filter because a lot of times when we're talking about these cases, we think of them like they're a movie or a TV show because it feels distant from us, right? It doesn't seem real. But for some people, that was very real and it actually happened. So just imagine, right? If something happened to someone in your family and then you see a video, I don't know, sensationalist or talking about it in a way that's not very nice. So I try to think about it from that perspective.
Yeah, stopping to think about it, it's kind of messed up, right? Because, okay, one thing is the story of Suzanne Richthofen,
Which is very popular, right?
No, even Suzanne Richthofen's uncle has nothing to do with Suzanne Richthofen. And suddenly he's involved in a story that, damn, yes, that's terrible for the family, for everyone, right? I think there's a lot of pain that gets intertwined. Yeah. What's your goal in the end then? Because you're making videos and all, and you're becoming a major voice, right? And when you decided to become a lawyer, you didn't imagine you would go down this path. Do you ever wonder what the next step is? Make a documentary, right? Is that something you want to do?
I think for me, it's really about this educational aspect, Yeah, I think whatever people can take from this is always good. There are a lot of people who even send me messages about it. I don't know. I think some people see these things as a way to control anxiety too, There is even an explanation for that as a way of controlling anxiety. People usually talk about that more with horror movies, right? Why do people like to watch horror movies so much, even though they're going to get scared and feel afraid? But they say that sometimes if you're really anxious, you'll watch something that gives you controlled anxiety. Like there's a beginning, middle, and end to it. And then it's over and it doesn't stay with you. And I think that sometimes if you watch one of those cases that's all wrapped up, it gives you you can see the whole story. I get it.
The tension goes away because it has a resolution.
You get to see the ending, which is why you don't feel that way with unsolved mystery cases. They keep you tense, wondering what happened. A lot of people mention this to me. I prefer the educational part. It's very important.
Wow. True crime is booming because people are more anxious. You've made me consider something I hadn't before.
It's something to think about, right?
That the guy who ends up in...
Nowadays, we also have more horror movies, right? There have been more and more movies.
Damn, I once heard a guy saying that, yeah, man, look how crazy that is. It even became a topic. Musical works, they only improve people's lives when they end on the same note that starts the composition. So if you start the song in C and you end it on a tension, I don't know, like an augmented fourth, as they say, right? The person leaves feeling tense and their week isn't very good. Interesting. because it makes sense. Tana, 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 done.
It's over.
It's over. He's going home calmly.
Exactly. It could have a lot to do with that.
Maybe. So we depend then on the Brazilian police to cure anxiety cases.
To sum it all up,
That's it. To sum it the hell up, the police need to ease our anxiety. Panic attacks are happening because cases aren't being solved. They're not being solved. But in some way, it makes sense because the guy thinks like this. Okay, the guy is free, the guy is unpunished, right? So yeah, it sucks because when you have a sense of impunity, you get more anxious too. Yeah, exactly. Maybe you want to watch to say,
okay, it ended that way, right? What was the solution? Or wow, this person went through all that, but then something happened. At least the person was caught or they survived. So in a way, I think it brings relief, right?
man, I haven't stopped to think about that. But the person who made me the most anxious during those times was Daniel Lopes. Damn. Do you know Daniel Lopes?
I know him, like, I know who he is.
If I bring Daniel Lopes here, my hair will turn gray.
Gray hair?
I found out he's 26 years old, put some money on it.
Put more money into therapy.
Daniel Lopes makes me buy land, man. He does. I get tense.
For God's sake, Bahia is booming there now because of him.
It's booming. He comes here to the couch and says, bro, this is gonna go to shit. I don't know. This is gonna go to shit. For God's sake.
I didn't know how to take up space.
It's for paranoia.
I have to have Daniel Lopes and the guy who balances Daniel Lopes out, you know? That's the guy she's talking about.
Yeah, to wrap it up and come out well.
It's Daniel Lopes' therapist. If the guy next to Daniel Lopes talks to me, he's crazy.
I answer?
It solves my anxiety, bro. Imagine this guy's therapist.
Daniel Lopes. He doesn't have a therapist. If he has a therapist, he's screwed. His career is over. His career is over. He'll show up and say, guys, namaste. Iran is attacking, but relax. I'm in a Zen state.
It's true.
His whole line of work is over. It's over.
The bear is done. Nobody buys it anymore. That's crazy. Okay, so none of this has affected you until today.
Yeah, I think I was worse in the beginning and then I tried to adapt somehow.
Okay, besides TikTok, what else are you doing? Like in terms of content invitations, because you do a lot of things too, cable TV.
Home. Yeah, so I have the channel and all. I work a lot in film, right? By now, we've already made 2 horror short films too. Do you write horror? Yes. I really want to get to know it and focus on that.
How much does reality influence horror, or do you prefer making stories unrelated to reality?
So, something I really want is to do something big with some Brazilian story that we have here. Because I think it's been explored more, but Brazil has a lot of legends and many stories that could be even bigger, you know, like Sachi. Yeah, actually, the first 2 short films I made were about the legend of the Luara do Banheiro, right?
Really?
Yes, the Luara do Banheiro. As a child, I used to try the Luara do Banheiro ritual in the school bathroom.
I'm telling you, you're a weirdo. Don't come at me with that.
Flushing like crazy.
Then she says, no, I'm totally normal.
The little guy who used to sit there with a small cup? No.
I wouldn't do that. No way you would either.
That's the compadres thing.
That I do? That I used to do?
That's your thing, Jumanji.
That I don't do. The one who does it is...
You're used to play Jumanji?
The one who does that is Daniel Pires.
Daniel Lopes.
No, Pires?
Pires is a Satanist. Someone, damn. Shining here. He came too.
Crazy.
He's the one who messes with the Ouija board there. He's from your little group. He's always trying to convince me to go use the Ouija board with him. I'm not going. I won't do that.
But do you actually think this could go wrong?
Me? Are we going to do it? Yes.
No, go fuck yourself.
Let's do it. I have a son. Are you crazy when I say do it?
My son walking on the ceiling.
Bending on the ceiling, coming down face first. Why not?
The other guy already came here. The story totally fucked me up, man.
Story.
The guy who came here, what's the name of the boy who died?
Daniel.
What's his name?
Mastral.
Daniel Mastral. He came here?
That's true.
Man, there's a heavy story. Can I tell it? Daniel Mastral, he came here.
Me and him? No, I don't know who that is.
No, what he's saying is wild. It's an amazing episode. If you're still watching, it's awesome. However, Daniel Mastral's video had already gone live. This was pre-recorded. It's not live, okay? We just pretend it's live.
It's not.
Daniel Mastral's video aired on the day and at the time of his death.
No way.
Which news program, you know?
I don't believe it. The video had just come out. It was the way...
It was there in premiere mode on YouTube.
Premiere mode on YouTube.
Everyone wanted to kill Mauricio. Opportunist.
No, but the video went viral since everyone wanted to see it.
Damn, Daniel helped me buy some stuff there. But no, sorry, I bought a camera and stuff, but it wasn't premeditated.
No, for sure.
It was a big coincidence. I would be Wallace's guy.
That's true. You talked about it happening?
With the bull.
You can have banderos on TV, you can have banderos on YouTube, but not here with us.
We're going to kill Jew on the day of the episode.
If anything happens, no.
We're screwed.
Look at this mess. Jew got pneumonia.
We're gonna make a clip out of this part.
And it was crap. Because usually the episode, well, not always. The episode usually goes live at 11 a.m. on Mondays, right? Daniel Mastral's episode went live at 11 a.m. and his death was confirmed on the internet at 11:15. Wow.
Wow, it was right after.
People talked about it, and the first thing they do is go on YouTube.
It's the first one that showed up.
Then it's there live.
It's his little face there.
He's there interviewing with his little face.
It's true, it was the premiere.
My God. The video was like 1,000, 2,000, 30,000, 60,000. I'm shocked. Then I went on Instagram. Now, son of a bitch. Opportunist. Then there was a guy there who was a Satanist.
The other one isn't a Satanist anymore.
The demon in me. I said, damn.
But relax, now he became a priest.
Yeah, the guy got pissed at me. This guy was calling me an opportunist and ripping into me. I said, man, wow. Almost got fired. 63 people. So scary.
My God, I'm shocked. It's crazy. It was such a coincidence.
I'm not sure why we're discussing this now or why it's about me.
Why did we talk about that?
Because we're talking about his story?
You, since we discussed doing the invocation here.
Don't come with that invocation crap.
Because he wanted to do it? No.
He said some things, and after he came here, nothing but bad things happened.
Yeah, he said some pretty heavy stuff, right? And then anyway, my life wasn't so great after that, but let's move on. Man, that's horrible. I believe it.
I believe it too.
Okay, so you were a child like you said, right? Yes. A preteen curious about this subject. Yes. Okay. I think I have a good point for us to talk about. You're one of the biggest experts and enthusiasts in horror, right? What are the top 3 horror movies you'd recommend for people to check out and maybe like, and why do you like these 3 movies?
Okay. I really like psychological horror movies, so I think my favorite of all is Hereditary. Hereditary, have you watched it?
No, but I haven't seen anything. I'm a coward.
For me, Toni Collette, who is one of the main actresses in this movie, she should have won an Oscar for her performance. She was flawless. What's it about? And it's a story about, it has something to do with a satanic cult. So it's just that I don't want to give any spoilers. No, but just say it. But like a little girl, her daughter dies. And then there's a lot of symbolism in the movie about what's really going on underneath it all, There's a cult there wanting that to happen. Wow.
I saw the post and I already freaked out.
I want to see those girls.
I saw the post already.
I freaked out. I don't like horror movies, no. I get really freaked out. No, the kid has a face. Sorry to interrupt you. Horror movies, I actually like them. But you know what kind of horror movie I like? Those more over-the-top movies.
Jason, right?
With that big axe.
It's kind of funny too, right?
Good. Don't mess around. Where is it? Don't come with that it's behind you stuff. That messes me up. Psychological horror. What is that?
Behind you. No, it's fine. Psychological.
You know a movie that really messed me up? That one with Jack Nicholson.
The Shining, damn.
That
one really messed me up. It's very psychological too.
That he's a writer in the snow alone. Yes. And then he starts to freak out. Yeah. When he starts freaking out, it gets to me because it could happen to me. Then I get kind of scared. Yeah. Hereditary is kind of like that.
It's subtle, but it also has that slightly supernatural vibe besides the psychological part, right? But it's a really well-made movie. If you watch it again, you catch a lot of references that help you understand the ending later. So I really like that, how it's put together. A movie I think is good for people who get a little scared but still has that supernatural element I love is Get Out. Get Out? It also won a lot of awards.
Get Out by Jordan Peele. It's wonderful, but that's a comedy.
No, right?
I saw it as a comedy, yeah.
Okay.
Ask Batista if he saw it as a comedy. Yeah. Ask Batista if he thought it was a comedy.
No, but it's it's not a comedy, obviously, but it's a light movie in the sense that that's why I say that.
For people who are scared or don't like those more supernatural things, I think Get Out is a good movie. But for example, I love The Conjuring. I think what gets me is that it's based on real stories, right? Like, not really that closely based on them, but I think it was pretty iconic. I think The Conjuring made horror more popular. It was a movie that reached a lot of audiences, so The Conjuring is one. What else? There are some movies I like where the horror is symbolic. For example, The Babadook is a movie where the horror represents the mother's grief, It's not an entity. In the movie, it's an entity, but you realize it's really the grief she feels about having a child and all that.
Do you like horror?
I do.
Do you like horror literature? Do you like horror movies?
I like it, but for example, I'm not a big fan of gore movies, the ones that keep showing blood and all that. Like, I like Scream, I like it. Do you like psychological horror? Yeah. I don't like it. For example, I won't watch a movie just because I want to see Saw, for example. I watch it, yes, but it makes me really uneasy. It's not something I think is silly. Silly.
Yeah. Saw, for me, is exactly that. It's crazy. But Saw is about the crazy serial killer psychopath thing. What do you like? Like The Exorcist? Do you like that?
I like The Exorcist, but the ones I'm most afraid of are exorcism movies. So I get kind of weirded out.
Do you believe in exorcism?
I think I do. I don't know if I believe in like demons, but I do believe in some kind of evil force, you know? Okay? And there are some movies that I think make me feel bad afterwards, like Long Legs. Have you watched it? No.
I haven't watched anything. I'm a coward. I watched it, but
Like, it was a movie that left me feeling bad. I was like, oh my God, there's an atmosphere. You know, there's an atmosphere around me that makes me feel like I need to cross myself, you know? That feeling, it goes away.
Stay away, Mauricio.
I don't like those movies, man. Avoid them, avoid them. No, I don't like them. I don't like them. For me, Twitter is scary enough already. That's it. Okay, did you like Noites de Terror at Play Center, man?
I like it. I think it's cool. Do you like getting scared? No, I don't like it, but I think it's fun. Yeah, with a group of people.
You're really weird.
Getting scared with a group is funny. Horror is cool. I used to like it too. Because then there are a lot of people who don't like horror movies, but they like to go on these outings.
You're weird. A really weird person, huh? Yeah, I feel something weird here.
Yeah.
She likes it. Daniel Perez is coming back and we're going to do it.
Put both of them here.
No, don't call me. Don't call me.
I don't see. It's the compass game, no.
The compass game.
Drawing a pentagram on the floor and placing a bet to see who wins in the game of I don't do it.
There's something I don't do. I'm really scared. I'm really scared. I don't even put my hand on the board. Oh my.
I thought it was that little tiger game on your phone.
That too, that too.
But why are you afraid? Why are you afraid of what are the stories? That something can come in? Is it because
all the supernatural cases I've ever told, the vast majority start because someone went to play the glass game. Damn.
all of them?
Yeah.
That happened, Matthias.
Because then you open a portal, right? I'm not playing anymore.
But how do you close the portal? Teach me how to close it. Can someone teach me how to close the portal?
Don't play the game.
No, your guy did it. He was wasted. Karote. He opened it.
He just says that you have to say goodbye, right? Like, because on the board there's hello and goodbye, and then you finish, you have to end the game. You can't just leave it open.
No, the spirit doesn't realize you want to stop playing.
Magi. They left it open for 30 years and then had to play again.
Wait, that's really messed up. You have to play again. I lost the board and now it's open forever.
No, while you're doing it, like, you ask the questions and no, and actually, like, don't do it. For me, don't do it. For me, just don't. But if you did, they say you have to finish it. You can't just leave it there and walk away.
I tried DH. I already lost the board. How do you close this crap?
Don't have the board then.
Well then, with this nice and affectionate ending, because
Some people are probably worried now.
Those who have already done it, yeah.
I think people opened it. Or maybe it was just with a little cup there. Man, I'm telling you, we're screwed. Out of nowhere, I opened this crap. I opened it. It was the day of the Mass, I think, Mastral.
I opened it? No, but then they also say that you can, I don't know, if you have something, you go, I don't know what religion you believe in, but some people go and do it and remove it. I mean, for me...
If you're not afraid, you go to some religious place that gets rid of it. Who says he isn't opening it? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
In the religion that removes it, the guy says, let's open it. Boom, opens it even more.
You have to trust. You have to have faith.
Trust. It has to be the place. Trust.
So trust Brazilian, the guy over there winning, curing that thing from go to Zurich.
It's trustworthy there.
I'm going to close the deal there in Zurich. Close it there in Zurich, take it out. I'm going to Zurich to close the damn thing.
Protect yourself there. It's in Zurich.
Well, guys, here's Jew, right? Jew Cassini. I mean, amen.
Amen. Yeah, amen. Amen.
Amen, amen. I understand. Amen, amen.
It can be amen.
It's closing, bro. Closing while still open, I thought.
That,
She came up with a good one.
I'm wrapping up here. Amen.
Bye. Jew Cassini is here, amen. Out of nowhere, she's really blessed.
Talks about horror, comes here, ends with amen. It changed.
She messed up her TikTok. Hi, let's discuss spirituality.
Actually, I'm just a character.
I'm a character. Jew Cassini is here. In the video description, man, you'll find all her socials, right? Altogether, they have over 10 million subscribers, right? Subscribers is the term now. I don't even know anymore. Users, whatever. There's her TikTok, which I think is where I found her, and I think you'll find her too if you have that crazy algorithm. Yeah, Instagram and everything else, you can send her messages like, bring my dad back, she can do it, she's doing it.
No promises.
No wild promises. Well, guys, this conversation is also on Spotify. Remember, share this video and leave a like and write down below what your supernatural experiences were or why you like this subject so much that it brought you to this video. Because then people can communicate, form groups, and who knows, maybe in the future we'll have another Cassini here.
And close out the Ouija session.
And close it out. Don't play it. If you do play, close it out.
If the glass breaks.
Some people claim they play and the glass breaks on its own, right? Because of the energy?
Then it's screwed.
I don't know if it's true or if the glass is just bad too.
That's why we must do it, Mauricio.
He bought the glass at Pão de Açúcar.
Let's do it. Don't do it. I guarantee you.
I'm the kind of person who doesn't take risks. I don't need to. Why would I try, I can get things in exchange, just to be sure. Yeah.
With here or with the law?
Also, don't send a Ouija board or similar to my house. I don't want to play and you don't pay.
To find out, but send it to her for free. She'll do it. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.